my friends, and let's start right away with the most shocking news today. The Security Service of Ukraine has opened a case regarding the wiretap found in the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valeriy Zaluzhny. The Security Service of Ukraine stated that the microphone was discovered not directly in Zaluzhny's office, but in one of the premises that could potentially be used by him in the future.
Скажімо так, це приміщення, яке я мав використовувати сьогодні. В ньому в ході перевірки.
Тобто це не постійно ваша? А ми так розуміємо, вона була не робоча,
просто є місць, де я працюю, і в одному з них це там вже давненько вже не було, але перевірили і знайшли.
А це може?
According to preliminary data, the device wasn't operational. Investigators state that a makeshift microphone was found under the working desk during the room preparation. It's made from unspecified elements, making it impossible to identify the person who installed it. Currently, no means of information storage or remote transmission of audio recordings have been found. Perhaps they haven't been installed yet. Journalist Yuri Butusov, citing his own resources, writes that after the General Staff employees discovered the microphone, they immediately began checking other premises of the headquarters. According to sources, a similar microphone was also found in the office of Valeriy Zaluzhny's personal assistant, Konstantin Bushuyev. Currently, the Security Service is conducting investigative actions. The entire staff with access to the office is undergoing a polygraph test. Whether the perpetrators were able to obtain any information is unknown at this moment. A few days ago, the German publication Welt published material stating that the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valeriy Zaluzhny, plans a new counteroffensive. Ukraine is likely gathering resources for new operations in 2024. The starting point could be a bridgehead on the left bank of Kherson. Perhaps the criminals wanted to gather information specifically about this plan. Valeriy Zaluzhny or other representatives of the General Staff haven't commented on this information so far. Now, let's move on to the front overview. And let's start right away from the same Kherson direction. According to the latest information from captured Russians, they plan to attempt to break through to the right bank. But in fact, our units cannot significantly expand their bridgehead on the left bank as before. And the Russians, in turn, cannot push our fighters out of the positions in the village of Marinka. Occupiers complain that they are constantly sent to storm and they only suffer significant losses.
On the situation in Kreminka, General Teplinsky continues to try to squeeze the enemy out of the bridgehead. As before, without a positive result. And how can it be, if neither the conditions nor the tactics change, the enemy still has an overwhelming superiority in small air and artillery, while we are trying to squeeze him out with an infantry mass? Moreover, all these assaults are actually taking place contrary to the order of the Supreme. General Teplinsky's fixation on this ill-fated bridgehead is difficult to understand. Apparently, his vanity was very hurt by the fact that he was not able to clean up Kreminka earlier and receive the coveted Order of St. Andrew I called. But whether the wounded pride of the general is worth the lives of Russian soldiers who die in senseless attacks is a rhetorical question.
Although losses are present on both sides, the occupiers are already publishing videos of how they sank a Ukrainian boat crossing the Dnipro River. Overall, we are waiting to see how events will unfold, but unfortunately, there is no significant breakthrough yet. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Russians continue their attempts to regain the lost territory during the summer counteroffensive by the Ukrainian forces. Progress in this direction is severely complicated due to numerous minefields set up by the Russians. It's reported that in the Robotyne area, a Ukrainian T-72 tank detonated on one of these mines. Additionally, there is information that the Russians allegedly shot down their own Su-25 with their air defense system. Considering how their air defense systems operate, it's not surprising that sooner or later they will start shooting down their own aircraft. Along the front line, attacks continue on Robotyne, and in the Verbove area, combat clashes have resumed. There are no changes along the front line within the day, but the situation remains tense as before. In the Vuhledar direction, the situation remains maximally stable. No new offensive actions are taking place, and the number of shelling is minimal. However, the Ukrainian forces continue to strike at the enemy's rear. In the night, explosions occurred in the occupied Mariupol. The first hit was near the concrete plant where the Russians are located. The second hit was on the territory behind Port City, where the Russians deployed their military equipment and air defense systems. In the Avdiivka direction, the most challenging situation persists. The enemy has intensified offensive actions near the coking chemical plant and plans to break through directly to the outskirts of the city. Battles are also ongoing in the Svatove area and in the fields near Bakhmut. In the industrial zone, offensive actions continue near Yasinovatska Street. While the Russians haven't achieved significant success, their activity is very high, and they are attempting to exhaust the Ukrainian forces' strength in this direction to break through to the outskirts and consolidate their positions. On the southern flank, battles have resumed for Tonenki, and attacks on Pervomaiske and Nevelske continue. There are no changes along the front line within the day, but it's evident that Russian activity is very high. There are losses on both sides, and Russian social media pages have started publishing photos of captured Ukrainian soldiers. The content of these photos is not suitable for sensitive viewers, and I cannot show them to you. However, the Russians comment on this situation as follows.
Destroyed enemies in the Avdiivka direction. Frames are not for the faint of heart. This is what happens when the armed forces of Ukraine make the wrong choice. They made a big mistake by arriving in Avdiivka and not surrendering immediately upon arrival. As often happens with the Kokli, they decided that they could shoot at our people, wound and kill, and at the very last moment jump off and shout that they are ordinary drivers. But it doesn't work that way. The armed forces of Ukraine won't live to see that.
Further south, in the Marinka area, the Russians intensively shell the villages near the front line, but offensive actions are only taking place to the north of Novobakhmutivka. Novomykhailivka. Over the day, the Russians didn't achieve any successes, and the front line remains unchanged. However, unofficial information suggests that the Russians may have improved their positions from the southern side, but we are still waiting to see if this information is confirmed. In the Bakhmut direction, today the Russians continue to storm the positions of the Ukrainian forces in the village of Bogdanivka. In the Ivanivska area, attacks have ceased, but shelling continues. near Klishchiivka and Andriivka, the attacks persist and the situation remains quite challenging. However, the Ukrainian forces manage to repel all attacks, with the majority of them occurring through the use of drones. Ukraine needs to increase drone production, but not the kind used by the protagonist in the next story. In the Volyn region, a drone production facility used for smuggling cigarettes into the European Union was uncovered. The drones were manufactured using 3D printers. Law enforcement confiscated a motorized hand glider, 8 drones of the plane and quadcopter types, a lot of other equipment, and over 2,000 packs of counterfeit cigarettes from the suspects. The confiscated unmanned aerial vehicles are planned to be handed over to units of the State Border Guard Service. So, well, at least they will come in handy somewhere. The Main Intelligence Directorate has also received 2 domestic armored vehicles, Dozor-B, in a special version. The head of the Kharkiv Regional State Administration reported this. We can't discuss all the advantages of the vehicles, but they are likely to be appreciated by Russian occupiers. This includes armor, particularly protection against mines and small arms fire. Okay. In the Kreminna and Siversk directions, the Russians have resumed offensive actions towards Makeyevka and the village of Terny. However, all their plans are currently failing, and the Ukrainian forces successfully repel all attacks. In the Svatove area, the situation remains unchanged, with no attacks or shelling reported. The Ukrainian forces also show minimal activity in this direction, as confirmed by the map of verified geolocations of shelling. So it appears relatively calm on this front. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians continue their assault on Synkivka, utilizing both equipment and manpower, but they are not achieving success. Additionally, attacks have resumed in the area near the highway, and as before, shelling of the Frontline villages is recorded. The Frontline remains unchanged within the day, but meanwhile, yesterday, an unidentified vehicle collided with a motorcade of US President Joe Biden in Delaware as the American leader's family was leaving their campaign headquarters.
Mr. President, why are you losing to Trump in the polls?
It's reported that the couple is safe and the incident didn't impact the shadow of the American president. Okay. And that's all for me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.